The ultimatum. Commander Ilara Vega's boots echoed across the polished obsidian floor of the Hall of Concord. The cavernous chamber's curved walls glittered with embedded star charts, mapping the Galactic Confederation's territorial expansion over 12 millennia. At the far end, representatives of the 7 founding species sat elevated on their crystalline dais, arranged in a perfect half-circle. Ilara maintained a carefully neutral expression, despite the churning anger in her gut. Her gray-blue uniform, bearing Earth's new independent insignia rather than the Confederation emblem, drew disapproving glances from the various diplomatic attaches lining the path to the central podium. "Commander Vega," announced Arbiter Exceltor, the willowy Kedveri who served as the Confederation's chief diplomatic officer. "You have requested an emergency audience with the High Council. This is most irregular, as humanity's scheduled negotiation session is not for another 14 cycles." "The circumstances are extraordinary, Arbiter," Ilara replied, her voice amplified by the chamber's acoustic design. "I bring Earth's final communication regarding our petition for full membership status." A ripple of murmurs spread through the assembled dignitaries. The draconian representative, Imperator Mokthal, leaned forward on scaled forearms, his slit-pupilled eyes narrowing. "Final? How curious," he rumbled, mandibles clicking with barely concealed irritation. "Your species has been petitioning for barely 7 years. Some races wait centuries for consideration." Ilara nodded. "Yes, Imperator. And after 7 years of contributions to Confederation infrastructure, medicine, and computational systems, we have been consistently denied equal representation, while our innovations are readily incorporated into Confederation technology. Your innovations occur within Confederation space, using Confederation resources," countered Lyarsana, the luminescent Meridian ambassador. "They are naturally shared for the greater good." "A greater good in which we have no vote," Ilara responded coolly. "As of 800 Earth Standard Time, the United Earth Government has unanimously voted to withdraw from all Confederation treaties and terminate our provisional membership." Silence fell across the chamber, so complete that Ilara could hear the soft hum of the air circulation systems. Then chaos erupted, delegates shouting across species lines, translators working overtime to convey outrage in dozens of languages. Arbiter Exceltor raised long, delicate fingers, and the chamber's internal systems dampened all sound except his voice. "Commander, surely you understand this is unprecedented. No species has ever voluntarily withdrawn from Confederation protection. Perhaps because no species has ever been held in provisional status for so long while contributing so much," Ilara replied. She activated her neural link, projecting a hologram that expanded over the central floor. It displayed a time-lapsed map of human expansion through Confederation space, research outposts, engineering corps, medical facilities, all appearing as blue points of light spread across thousands of worlds. In the past 7 years, humanity has established a presence on over 4,000 Confederation worlds. Our engineers maintain 38% of critical infrastructure hubs. Our medical research has produced treatments for 17 previously incurable cross-species diseases. She paused, letting the statistics hover in the air. And yet, we remain without representation on any significant policy council. "Young species require guidance," rumbled Mokthal. "You have barely mastered rudimentary faster-than-light travel." Ilara smiled thinly. "Our FTL capabilities were indeed basic when we first encountered the Confederation. That was 7 years ago, Imperator." With another mental command, she changed the projection to show thousands of human vessels, personnel transports, and orbital stations converging into organized convoys across Confederation space. As we speak, all human citizens, ships, and equipment are being withdrawn from Confederation territory. The operation began 26 hours ago and will be complete within 5 standard days. The Vespid representative, a mantis-like being named First Scholar Ezivex, tilted her head at an alarming angle. "This is logistically impossible. You have 10,000 civilians on Proxima Hub alone. 9,842. Ilara corrected. All of whom are already aboard evacuation vessels. Operational planning for this contingency began 4 years ago, when it became clear the Confederation had no intention of granting Earth equal status. The 7 council members exchanged glances, their expressions ranging from anger to confusion. "And where will these humans go?" asked Lyrasana. "Your homeworld is already overpopulated by Confederation standards. You possess only 3 colony worlds of your own." In response, Ilara expanded the projection further, revealing a section of previously unmapped space beyond the Orion Spur. There, glowing green markers indicated dozens of established settlements. Humanity has been developing independent colonies beyond Confederation space for the past 5 years, she explained. Initially as a contingency, later as our primary focus. "Impossible," shouted Mokthal. "Our survey ships would have detected such activity." "Your survey ships rely on navigation systems calibrated by human engineers," Ilara replied simply. "Selective data filtering is remarkably effective." The implications settled over the Council like a heavy fog. For years, they had dismissed humans as clever but manageable newcomers, useful for their innovative approach to existing technologies, but politically naive. Now they were faced with the revelation that Earth had been quietly preparing an independent future while maintaining a facade of cooperation. Arbiter Xeltor recovered first. "Commander Vega, the Confederation cannot allow this withdrawal to proceed. Your technology was developed within our borders and legally belongs to the collective. Furthermore, the abrupt removal of human personnel from critical systems will cause catastrophic failures across multiple sectors." Ilara's expression hardened. "We anticipated this response. Arbiter, each human leaving Confederation space carries complete documentation of their contributions and the status of systems they maintained. This information has been provided to local authorities with detailed transition plans." She stepped closer to the dais, her voice dropping to a near whisper that nonetheless carried throughout the hall. "As for our technology, we invented it. We built it. The Confederation merely provided raw materials, which have been repaid threefold through our service." "This is outrageous," hissed First Scholar Azivex. "You cannot simply." "We can, and we are," Ilara interrupted. "The Confederation Defense Fleet has already attempted to blockade the Epsilon Corridor to prevent our first wave of ships from departing. I should inform you that all those vessels successfully bypassed the blockade 40 minutes ago." Imperator Mokthal slammed a clawed fist against his console. "That corridor was guarded by 12 capital ships. How could your transports possibly?" "Phase shift technology," Ilara stated simply. "Another innovation the Confederation deemed theoretically interesting, but practically unfeasible 3 years ago, when our scientists proposed it. We continued development independently." The revelation sent another shockwave through the assembly. Phase shift technology, allowing matter to briefly exist out of sync with normal spacetime, passing through solid objects, had been discussed in Confederation theoretical journals for centuries, but never successfully implemented. "Commander," Arbiter Xeltor said quietly, desperation edging into his normally controlled voice, "the Council is prepared to revisit Earth's petition for full membership. Surely we can negotiate." "The time for negotiation ended when you chose to treat us as resources rather than partners," Ilara replied. "However, Earth is not closed to future diplomatic relations. Once our withdrawal is complete, we would welcome Confederation representatives to our new territories, as equals." A soft alert chimed from Ilara's neural link. "My transport departs in 20 minutes. This concludes Earth's business with the Galactic Confederation." She turned to leave, her step measured and unhurried despite the uproar resuming behind her. At the grand entrance, her executive officer, Major Kazuki Tamura, waited with a carefully neutral expression. "How did they take it?" he asked as they walked briskly toward the docking bay. "Exactly as predicted," Ilara replied. "Shock, denial, then desperation. Operation Exodus is proceeding on schedule. Kazuki nodded, showing her a real-time tactical display on his wrist unit. All convoys report green status. The Confederation's attempted blockades have proven ineffective against our phase shift systems. And Project Sentinel, ready for activation once the last human has cleared Confederation space. Kazuki confirmed. The defensive perimeter will seal our new territories completely. As they approached their shuttle, Ilara paused, looking back at the gleaming spires of the Confederation's capital world. For centuries, humans had dreamed of joining a galactic community. The reality had proven far less utopian than their hopes. "Do you think they'll retaliate?" Kazuki asked quietly. Ilara shook her head. "They can't afford to. They've become too dependent on our innovations without understanding how they work. Within a month, critical systems will begin failing across their territories. Within 6 months, they'll be begging for human engineers to return. And will we?" "On our terms," Ilara said firmly as they boarded the shuttle. "Humanity offered friendship and received exploitation. Next time, we'll negotiate from a position of strength." The shuttle's engines hummed to life, carrying them away from the world that had become a symbol of humanity's disappointment with the stars. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also freedom, and the chance to build a galactic presence based on equality rather than subservience. As the shuttle broke atmosphere, a message flashed across Ilara's neural link from Earth Command. Operation Exodus Phase 2 initiated. Revelation Protocol authorized. Ilara smiled. The Confederation was about to discover just how much they had underestimated humanity. The Reckoning. 6 months after humanity's unprecedented withdrawal from the Galactic Confederation, High Chancellor Tezin Vos stood before the emergency session of the Interspecies Council, his normally lustrous blue scales dulled with stress. The Grand Council chamber, once a symbol of the Confederation's 12,000-year dominance, now operated with emergency power only. The holographic displays flickered intermittently, and half the chamber remained darkened to conserve energy. "The situation has deteriorated beyond our most pessimistic projections," Chancellor Vos announced, his amplified voice echoing through the half-empty hall. 43% of our major transit hubs have experienced critical systems failures. 17 core worlds face imminent resource shortages. Medical facilities across 6 sectors report catastrophic equipment malfunctions. Arbiter Exceltor, looking notably thinner than 6 months prior, rose from his seat. The Technological Recovery Commission has evaluated over 10,000 systems previously maintained by human engineers. In nearly every case, our specialists are unable to fully comprehend the integration methods used. The humans didn't simply maintain our infrastructure, they transformed it into something beyond our current understanding. Imperator Mokthal, once the most outspoken critic of human ambition, stared silently at the data scrolling across his console. The mighty Draconian fleet, pride of the Confederation's military might, now operated at 30% capacity. Without human technicians to maintain their advanced propulsion systems, over half the ships had been forced into dry dock. "We must face an uncomfortable truth," said First Scholar Azivex, her mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "We became dependent on human innovation without acknowledging their value. We extracted their creative potential while denying them political power." A murmur of reluctant agreement spread through the assembly. For months, the Confederation had maintained the public position that human withdrawal was a minor inconvenience, a childish tantrum from a species too impatient to follow proper protocols. But as system after system failed, that pretense had become impossible to maintain. "What of the diplomatic mission to Earth space?" asked Lyrisana, the Meridian ambassador's bioluminescent patterns pulsing with anxiety. Chancellor Vos gestured to a figure seated in the shadows at the edge of the council circle. "Ambassador Naren has returned from the human territories. Perhaps she can illuminate us." Ambassador Talniran, a Solari with iridescent, feather-like filaments instead of hair, approached the central podium. As one of the few Confederation officials who had consistently advocated for human integration, she had been the logical choice to lead the desperate diplomatic mission. The humans have established what they call the Orion Cooperative, she began, activating a holographic display showing a significant portion of the galaxy's Orion arm. In 6 months, they have fortified a region encompassing 78 star systems. Their defensive perimeter utilizes technology we previously believed impossible, including fully functional phase barriers that render conventional weapons useless. How? Demanded Mokthal. How could they have advanced so rapidly without our detection? They didn't, Naren replied simply. They advanced while under our very noses, deliberately mislabeling research, compartmentalizing breakthroughs, and exploiting our tendency to dismiss their theories as primitive. The hologram expanded, revealing more details of human territory. More concerning for the Confederation's position is the revelation that humanity is not alone in their new coalition. The display highlighted 12 additional systems within the human perimeter, each marked with unfamiliar symbols. The Sidori Collective, the Ta-Sishan Alliance, and the Proxima Enclave, Naren identified. All species previously denied Confederation membership or relegated to perpetual observer status. All species with unique technological or resource advantages the Confederation has coveted. Chancellor Vaz sank back into his chair. They've formed a rival power bloc. They prefer the term cooperative, Naren corrected. And unlike our hierarchical structure, each member maintains equal voting rights regardless of population size or technological advancement. The implications settled heavily over the assembly. For 12 millennia, the Confederation had operated on principles of seniority and established power. The founding species maintained control while newcomers spent centuries proving their worth. That system had never been seriously challenged, until now. Did they issue demands? Asked Thexel Tor, his long fingers tapping nervously against his console. Ambassador Naren shook her head. No demands. They extended an invitation instead. She activated a recorded message. Commander Ilara Vega appeared in the projection, now wearing a new uniform bearing the insignia of the Orion Cooperative. Greetings, Confederation representatives. Ilara's recording began. We have received your delegation and understand the challenges you currently face. The Orion Cooperative is prepared to assist with your infrastructure crisis under the following conditions. First, full diplomatic recognition of our sovereign territory and independent status. Second, a fair market trading agreement without preferential terms for Confederation worlds. Third, reparations for technologies appropriated without compensation during our provisional membership. The recording paused, and Ilara's expression softened slightly. We do not wish for suffering among Confederation citizens. Humanitarian aid will be provided regardless of diplomatic outcomes. But the era of exploitation is over. The cooperative stands ready to engage as equals, not subordinates. As the recording ended, silence fell over the council chamber. They hold all the leverage, Zeltor finally said. Without their assistance, critical systems across 20 sectors will fail within the next 60 days. First scholar AZ Vex chittered softly. The terms are actually more generous than expected. They could have demanded our unconditional surrender. Chancellor Vaz rose slowly. Representatives of the Confederation, we face an unprecedented moment in our history. For 12 millennia, we have expanded through this galaxy, incorporating new species under our established order. Now, for the first time, we must adapt or risk collapse. He turned to Ambassador Naren. What impression did you form of this cooperative during your visit? Naren's expression remained carefully neutral. Their technological integration is remarkable. Species we deemed incompatible have found synergies we never explored. Their defensive capabilities exceed our current offensive options by several orders of magnitude. She paused, but most striking was the apparent equality in their governance. I observed council sessions where human representatives deferred to Sidori expertise without hesitation. Impossible, muttered Mokthal. Social hierarchies are inevitable. "Perhaps that assumption is part of our current predicament," replied Naren. "We imposed our understanding of galactic order without considering alternatives. The humans and their allies have created something different." The chamber's lights flickered again, an increasingly common occurrence as power distribution systems degraded without human maintenance. "We have little choice," Chancellor Vos concluded. "Ambassador Naren, you will return to human space with a delegation empowered to negotiate recognition and assistance terms. The Confederation must evolve if it wishes to survive." 3 weeks later, Commander Ilara Vega stood at the observation deck of Orion Station Alpha, watching as the Confederation diplomatic vessel docked. Beside her, representatives from the Cooperative's 11 other member species formed a welcoming committee unlike any the galaxy had seen before, a genuine coalition of equals rather than a hierarchical assembly. "Nervous?" asked Kazuki, now Admiral Tamara, as they prepared to receive the once mighty Confederation's envoys. "Cautiously optimistic," Ilara replied. "Their systems will continue failing regardless of these negotiations. The question is whether their pride will allow them to accept a new reality before their citizens suffer unnecessarily." The airlock cycled open, and Ambassador Naren led the Confederation delegation onto the station. Their expressions betrayed varying degrees of shock as they observed the integrated technology of the cooperative. Sidori crystalline, computing interfaces seamlessly linked with human quantum systems, and Ta-Sation bioneural networks. "Welcome to Orion Station Alpha," Ilara greeted them formally. "The Cooperative Council awaits your delegation in Chamber 1. As they walked through the station's corridors, Ilara noted the Confederation representatives taking in details they would have dismissed as impossible just months before. The phase shift doors that allowed instant transport between distant sections of the station. The artificial gravity systems that accommodated different species' preferences simultaneously within the same spaces. The integrated translation field that rendered communication devices unnecessary. "You've achieved in months what the Confederation considered centuries away," Arbiter Xeltor commented quietly as they walked. "No," Ilara corrected. "We achieved this over years of development while the Confederation wasn't paying attention. You saw what you expected to see. A young species struggling with basic technologies, rather than what was actually happening." They reached the council chamber, a circular room where representatives of all cooperative species sat at equal height around a common table. No elevated dais, no hierarchical arrangement, physical equality reflecting political reality. Chancellor Vos hesitated at the entrance, 12 millennia of tradition, making this horizontal arrangement seem almost obscene. Then, with visible effort, he stepped forward to take the seat reserved for the Confederation delegation. "The inaugural joint session between the Galactic Confederation and the Orion Cooperative is now in session," announced the Ta-Sation chairperson, her tentacles undulating in formal patterns. "We recognize Chancellor Vos of the Confederation." Vos cleared his throat, scales shifting color slightly with emotion. "On behalf of the Confederation Council, I extend formal recognition to the Orion Cooperative as a sovereign galactic power. We seek peaceful relations and assistance with our current technological challenges." A ripple of satisfaction moved through the cooperative representatives. Not triumph or gloating, Ilara noted with pride, but simple acknowledgement that justice had finally been achieved. "The cooperative acknowledges the Confederation's recognition," Ilara responded formally. "We are prepared to dispatch engineering teams to address critical infrastructure failures, beginning with medical facilities and life support systems." As the discussion turned to technical matters, Ilara caught Kazuki's eye across the table. They had gambled everything on humanity's ability to forge a different path among the stars. Not one of domination or subjugation, but of genuine partnership with species the Confederation had marginalized. The gamble had paid off. Humanity had withdrawn from an unfair system, but they hadn't withdrawn from the galactic community. Instead, they had helped create a new one that recognized innovation and contribution over age and tradition. A historic day, murmured Ambassador Niren as the two delegations began discussing specific aid protocols. Just the beginning, Ilara replied, looking toward the viewports where the spiral arm of the galaxy stretched beyond. There are thousands of star systems beyond Confederation space, and countless species yet to be discovered. The question was never whether humanity belonged among the stars. She watched as human engineers entered the chamber, ready to detail the assistance they would provide to the Confederation worlds that had once dismissed them. The question was always what kind of galactic community we would help create when we got here.